Welcome back, listeners. In today's video, we're going to talk about form toggling. Okay, how we can toggle a particular element. Okay, so when we talk about toggle, what do we really mean about what toggle really is? Toggle, in terms of definition and usage, we can say we use toggle or toggle method between hiding a particular element or showing a particular element. Okay, this element could be selected based on the design. As a developer, you can decide, okay, I'm going to style this particular element, let it look this way. Okay, I'm going to design this particular element, let it look this way, in terms of implementing a toggle functionality. Okay, you can use toggle to show the visibility or hide a particular element. So this is how the application is going to look like. So we are going to go through here. I have designed a landing page here. We have home, register, and login. Okay, if I click home, it leaves us here in the landing page. But if I click register, what happens? A form appears. Okay, if I click here, it disappears. If I click here, it appears. If I click it back, it disappears. So this is form toggling. So also in the login icon, if I click login, a login page appears. If I click it back, it disappears. So this is what we are going to do today. Very quickly, let's open our VS Code. Okay, so we are going to write our code here. I have created 3 different files here. Okay, we have index.html. okay, we also have style.css. we have script.js. So very quickly, we are going to come here under the body tag. Okay, so you know what to do here. Please, this is the architecture of any HTML or any landing page of a web application. So I'm going to title it here form toggle. Form toggle. Okay, that is the title of the page. So here I'm going to create a div. I'll give it a class. I'll give it a class of div with a class. I'll give it a class of a container. Alright, container. So inside this div, we are going to have another child div with a class. I'm going to call it a subdiv1. Okay, subdiv1. Alright, so inside this subdiv1, we are going to have an h3 tag. I'm going to call it a registration form. Alright, then after which I'm going to create a section. Inside this section we'll have a form tag, where we're going to have a form whereby we can submit. So inside this form, I'm going to have few inputs. Let's talk about a username. Okay, inside this username we have input, and this input we're going to have a type of text. Alright, I'll give it ID, which I will call user reg, something like this. Okay, I'm going to close this input, after which we are going to have another one. I'll call this one a password, and this password is also going to have an input type. I'm going to give it a input. Let's have a type of input type. Let's have password as type. So we are going to give it an ID of user pass reg. Let's say pass reg. Okay, that's password for registration. You can give it any name of your choice, please. We have another one, email. So this email is also going to have an input with a type of email. Alright, so we can give it ID as well. Give it ID email reg, something like this. Alright, now that I've successfully designed this, I'm going to copy all this div, because we are going to have 2 different div here. This is a div. Okay, so I'm going to paste it here. Then we're going to call this one login form. Login form. Alright, but at the time of login, we won't be taking when we'll be taking email, let them log in with username and password. So these are the two. So we are going to come here. I'm changing this name to user log. All right, user log, and I'll also change this one to what? Pass log. That's password for login. All right, something like this. Then at the end of it, we are going to have what? A button. Sorry, we are supposed to create a button here because there should be a button. All right, this button we are going to give it what? On click. On click. On click is going to be what? Reg auth. I call it reg authentication or reg auth. Any name you choose to call it. Then we'll give it a class, and this class is going to be btn dash reg dash btn. All right. Then we're going to call it a register. Register. Okay. So this is how we want it to be. Then also we're going to have this button here too for the login. I'll give you on click. On click is going to be log auth. Okay. All right. Then we'll now come here, give it a class also, and the class is going to be btn dash btn. We'll call it a btn dot log btn. All right. So this is how we want it. At the end, we'll call it a login. Fine. So I'm going to run this page, and let's see how it look like on the browser. Let's going to use a live server. If you're using a live server, so we are going to run it in that way, and let's see how it looks like. Okay, this is how our form looks like. So now we are going to work on what? On the styling. Let's beautify this application. So what we're going to do first, we are going to link our what? CSS. I'm going to come here, link relation. Please, I urge you to watch my previous video on how we can link CSS and make it link external and internal what CSS. Okay, the way we are doing here now, we are creating what? External CSS. So we have to link it. So the name is going to be style sheet. Okay, and we are going to have what? href. We're going to reference, and then we also the name of it is called style.css. All right. Now we've successfully what? Link our CSS. If I come here now and say body, okay. If I come here now, I'm going to style the body. If I come here and say body, give it a background color. Let's give it a background color of something like ash 80. Okay. Then save. Then when we go to our page, refresh, you see, this is how the background is going to what? Look like. So our CSS is what? Working. We successfully what? Link our CSS. Now very quickly, there's something I want us to add, because when you look at the particular project we are working on, you notice that here we have what? A landing page. Okay, there is a landing page. I want it to open so that you look at it. We have what? A view here. Okay, a navigation bar here. So this navigation bar gives us a view to all the anchor tag that will enable us to what? Toggle. Okay, so we are going to create this navigation bar. So to do that, we'll come back to our work, then come here, go to the HTML file. So we are going to do small addition. Okay, so what we're going to do here, at the top of this div, before the div 1, remember this is what? Div 1. The other one is going to be what? Div 2. Okay, so that we can use it to what? Do our CSS styling. All right, so sub div 1, sub div 2. Okay, so next we are going to come here, create one nav bar. I'm going to call it nav. Then inside this nav bar, we are going to have what? On other list, which is UL. Then we also have what? List item. So the first one, we're going to have it, call it a home. So I'm going to copy this if possible, because I want to be fast. Then I'm going to copy it. Then the second one is going to be what? Register, and this one is going to be what? Login. All right. Now, since we've done this, don't forget that at the point of a nav, we are going to give you a class, and I'm going to call it a nav bar, something like this. So we are going to work on this nav bar. All right. immediately I create this tab, I'm going to put a break here. I know why. So let's go back to our CSS. So what I'm going to do here now, come back to navbar. Let's work on our CSS. They call it a class navbar. Here I'm going to give it a width of what? 100%. Alright, let's give it a height of let's say 60 pixels. Okay, also give it a background color of let's give it a background color of navy. Okay, navy. Alright, and also we can give it a color for the text to be what? White. Then finally we say give it a border radius of let's say 20 pixels. Alright, now if we save this page and go back to our work, if I refresh this is what we're going to get. Good, this is how we're going to look like. So if you look at this element here, we have home, register and login. They are not fitting, so we are going to inline them here so that they will fall in within this navbar. So to do that, we move straight to what? Our continuation of our style, which I say dash navbar ul, which is on other list. We have li. So we are going to style this element. I'll say list style. I'm going to set it to none. If I do that, you see that that bullet point that is showing will disappear. You see, those bullet points as what? Disappear. So next, we are going to come here again. I'm going to say display with inline. It should display inline. By using this display inline, all the elements will now fall inside. You see? Are you seeing it now? Good. So what we're going to do next, I'm going to come here and now say margin left. I'm going to give it a margin left. Margin left of how many? Let's give it margin left of 70 pixels. Alright. So to do this, if I refresh, you see, we now have it in this manner. Alright. Why this is breaking so much? If I'm going to remove this break here and let's refresh and see how it looks like. Okay, it's going more at the top. Alright, don't worry, we are going to do that. We are going to fit it. Now let it look this way first. Now next, what we are going to do here now is we are going to come back here and say in our design, our CSS, I'm going to come back here and say nav, or let's work on the UL style li. Then here we are going to come and say color. Remember, we are giving it white. Alright, so why I'm doing this is because I want to add what? Hover effect. Okay, that by default is showing white. Then by the time they hover it, okay, let the color change to what? At the time they hover it, let them have what? A cursor. Okay, because if you look at it now, by the time you are pointing it, it's not showing and as a pointer. Okay, before I refresh this page, if you look at it, it's not pointing. So if I refresh this page now, you see that by the time I move it, it's pointing. Okay, so that is the work of cursor. We set it to what? Pointer. Alright, now what we're going to do next is to come back here and say, okay, we are going to work on the container, which is our main div. This container here. Okay, we are going to work on this main div, which is that of a registration page. Now we're going to come back here. I'm going to come back here and say, okay, dash container, come back here and say width, give it a width of how many percent? Let's say 100%. Alright, then we're going to give it another height of how many? Let's say height of 80 VH. Okay, I'm going to come here and say, okay, give it a display. It should display as flex. Alright, so this is how we want it to look like. If I run this page, alright, so everything is showing in this manner. So we are working on it. That's what I want us to do. Let's go back again and continue by styling this our container. Don't forget it's a style. I will use dot container dash subdiv, because inside this container we have subdiv 1. So we are going to pick this subdiv 1 because we're going to work on it. I'm now going to call subdiv 1. Okay, let it look like this, and I'm going to come here. Then next we are going to design, do add some CSS attribute here. Come here, I give it a 500 pixels for the width. Then height, we are going to give it a height of 360. Okay, 360 pixels. All right, pixels. Then next we're going to give it how many? Give it a background color. Let's say background color. Let's say we'll give it a background color of. Let's give it a hash 8 dB 5 EO, something like this. 5 EO. I think this will work. All right. Then I'm going to come here. I'm going to save this code. Let's refresh. Okay, you see, this is our what? Our registration what page. You see the login page. We have not styled it. So let's continue. Now, what I want us to do here, very quickly, I'm going to give it a border bottom right radius. Border bottom right radius. I'm going to give it a 62 pixels. I'm going to also give it a border bottom right border top radius. Let's give it a border top radius, border top right. Give a border top right radius of how many? Let's give it to 45 pixels. And also we're going to give it a border bottom left radius, border bottom left radius. We also give it 45 pixels. I think that will be okay. Then very quickly we'll give it a margin. I'll give it a margin left of I'll give it a 20 pixels. All right. Then we'll now come and say position. Let's give it absolute. All right. Then we'll give it a top of 20%. Then we'll give it a left of how many? Let's say 30%. Then we'll come here and say transform. All right. Transition, or let's say translate X. All right. Then we're going to come and say 30%. Okay. Comma minus 30%. This is going to enable us to center the form at the center. All right. Then I'm going to come and say animation. I'm going to make do with it. I'll call it a fade, and this fade is going to have 500 millisecond or microsecond. We'll give it ease in and out, ease out. Okay, and it should be forward. It should display forward. Now this is all we want here. Sorry, it's going to be like this. All right. Now when we refresh this page, fine. You see our registration page as what appear at the center now. Okay, this is how we want it. Now let's continue. Next, what I want us to do here is to come and do some styling so that it will look nice. Okay, remember, I'm going to come here and say subdiv 1, which is this name. Okay, dash subdiv 1 h3. All right, do it this way. I'm going to say align items. Align items should be what? Center. Okay, let's say font. Let's give it a font size. Font size of let's say 20 pixels. Let's give it a color. Color should be navy. All right. I also give it a margin left. Margin left should be, let's say, 25 pixels or 26 pixels, as the case may be. All right. Then we'll come here very quickly and say test align. Test align should be what? Centered. All right. Now what is this going to do for us? The H3 element is going to be what? Here. So we are now having this our registration form at the center. Now we are going to style these inputs so that they will look nice. Now what we're going to do here, very quickly, we are going to come back here and say, remember, inside the form we have a style here. We came here and said at the form element we are going to do something. Remember, I'm going to come here, form element here, I'm going to give it a class, call it a reg form, reg underscore form, something like this, so that we are going to use this to do our word styling. So what I'm going to do here now, we'll go back to our CSS. Okay, I'm going to come back here and say reg form to form. Okay, all right, reg form to form. Then we are going to come and say, okay, padding, give it a padding of 40 pixels, 25 pixels as well. All right, button left, up and down. Now we're going to come here and say margin left. Margin left, we're going to give it 10 pixels. Then we're going to come and say text dash emphasis. Okay, we're going to give it a text emphasis dash color. I think that will be okay. Let's say inherent. It should inherit. Okay, then we're going to say color should be what? Black. All right, then finally we're going to say font weight. Font weight, it should be bold. All right, sorry, font weight should be bold. Now we have gotten this, so this is how our form will look like. Good. Now we have defined our div, which is our form. Now inside this form, remember, we have something here, okay, called what? Form. And inside this form we have what they call inputs. Okay, all these inputs we are going to style them as well. Give it a width of what? 300 pixels. And very quickly give it a outliner. The outline is say what? None. Okay, so that all those outline will leave. Height, give it a height of what? 40 pixels. And then very quickly give it a margin left of 40 what? Pixels. Then we're going to say display, it should display it flex. Okay, then we say border radius, give it a border radius of 20 pixels. Then finally we say border should be what? None. All right, so this is how our form is going to look like. So if we refresh this page, okay, let's see why it's not showing in that manner. Okay, reg form, okay, form, okay, padding here, all right, border none, it's all right. Okay, it's okay, it's working. Now what we're going to do here, we actually have inputs here. Okay, this is what the input is doing for us. Okay, from this point here, let's see what actually is going on. We have a style here, and inside this style we have a form. This is what we'll copy, and we have saved this. We are saving yes, registration. Okay, all right. Then when that's okay, inside this form, give us a div, and give us a div in that format. Now that we got that, okay, all right. Okay. Sorry, we should have put this class inside section, because we already call a form already by name. All right, we should have put div. It should be inside section. That's how it ought to be. All right, you see, this is how it should be. Now, because we already call the name form here by name, so this class should be inside section elements. Okay, so now that we have done that, our form is okay now. Then very quickly, let's work on the button. If you look at the button here, you find out that the button is not that enough. Okay, let's work on the button. So after this, with the part 2 of it, we're going to design that of a login page 2. Then before we now go to our JavaScript. Now very quickly, let's work on this button. What I'm going to do here is to come here, check the name, we'll give it a btn reg, okay, as a class name. So I'm going to come here, btn class name, then come here and say, okay, border, give it a none. Okay, give it a outline should also be what? Outline should be what? None as well. Okay, then we're going to give it a cursor, should be pointer, cursor should be pointer. Then we're going to give it a width of, let's say 90 pixels. Then we're going to give it a height of how many? Give it a height of 30 pixels, because it's a button. Then we're going to give it a color. How the color should display. Let's say they give it white. Alright, give it white. Alright, then we're going to come and say background color. Background color should be navy. Okay, let's give it navy. Navy, it's okay. Then we are going to say margin. Margin left should be what? 50 pixels. 50 pixels, so that it will push it down to a barest minimum. We're now going to say margin top. Okay, margin top, give it a 10 pixels. Alright, so that it will be a little bit space from the form. Then we are going to come and now say border radius of 20 what or 30 pixels. Let's say 20 is okay. 20 pixels. Then very quickly, the last one was now say font weight. Font weight should be what? Bold. Alright, this is how our button is going to look like after much design. Good. This is how our button is going to what look like. Now, to do this, we want to hide this form because it should show at the point of when they click it, that it appear. So to do that, I'm going to come here, go to the HTML tag. Here, inside this form, we have what they call div. Look at it here. We have a div here. Inside this div, I'm going to create another div. Call it a hide div. I'll just call it hide div1. So I'm going to work on this. So what I'm going to do here now is to come back to the CSS. Come back here, and I can say display. Display should be what? None. Alright. So this display none will enable us to what? Hide the what? That particular what? Div. So that we can be able to focus on the other what? Form. See, we have hide that div. Okay? It will show by the time we click register. That is when we'll get to what? JavaScript. Now let's work on our what? Login form. The same way we did on in our what? Registration page. We are also going to come here and that's okay. Going to call it login form style begins. Begins here. Alright, so we're going to come here, start with our what? Login form, so that we can do that very quickly. Now, what we're going to do here, remember, login as well has a form here. So we are going to move this to our part 2. This is our login form. Remember, we are going to come here inside the same login form. We are going to come here as well and say what? Hide div 2. The same way we did it in our what? Registration what? Form. So we also have a hide div 2. So thank you, listener, for your time. In part 2 of this video on form toggling, we are going to talk about how we can design the same login form the same way we did with our form registration form, so that at the point of clicking it will show like this. When you click it, it disappears. So join me in our part 2 video. If you like this video, feel free to share, feel free to like. Don't forget to comment on the comment section so that we can look at it together if there is anything that we add to this project. Thank you and remain blessed.